Good morning and welcome to Join the Dots. Now first, let me tell you that this is being recorded on Friday morning, so it's before the Fed decision at Jackson Hole. And I want to make that clear because there'll be an incredible amount of noise about the Fed, what it did, what it didn't do, what it said, what it didn't say. So none of that will be relevant to this presentation because I don't know what was done. And I like to leave things like that 48 hours, 72 hours anyway to settle down because the initial noise is often the wrong noise. Okay, knee-jerk reactions are not clever when you're investing and strategizing through what is an incredibly turbulent time for the world, for everything. So I'm going to start with a little bit on crypto. I've got two links here to shorts by Rupert of All in Crypto. And I've got a long piece from Paul Barron Network. Now, I found Paul Barron recently, and he's got a sensible site, so I will put up a link there. Remember, all the links come up on the last slide of this presentation, okay? And then you can just tap them and pick them up from YouTube. All right. Now, there's an awful lot in the Paul Barron one, and it's talking about the use of crypto in the ongoing geopolitical war, economic war, trade war, ideological war, everything war with China, or some people will say the BRICS. There's a lot going on, all right? Now I want to bring in here, I think sometimes it's useful to hypothesize rather than just have a view and not change it and not challenge it. I like to come up with some hypothesis sometimes that challenges what's going on. And I want to put one up for you on Bitcoin. Now, my view on Bitcoin as someone who is looking at leading indicators, someone who's looking forward, someone who's trying to go into the future, not completely controlled by the past. My own hypothesis on Bitcoin is that as we go into a much more crypto-based future, and there's a piece in one of Rupert's videos on All in Crypto there about Larry Fink, and Larry Fink talking about the tokenization of financial assets, and that brings in Hedera, HBAR, etc. And that's a good piece, right? And then we see Paul Barron talking about the geopolitical war that could happen through stable coins, right? So the future is stable coins, tokenization, etc. It is not a coin that was invented 15 whatever years ago and has really served its purpose. In other words, it's introduced crypto to the world. The whole concept of crypto has been propagated by Bitcoin, and it's out there now and it's done its job. Now this is my hypothesis, remember, okay? My hypothesis is that Bitcoin has done the job that it set out to do. And I don't say it's reached the end of its journey, but I just say in terms of the future, and in terms of what we now see with the spread of stable coins, crypto, tokenization, of everything, which seems inevitable, what is the purpose of Bitcoin in that universe, that expanding universe? I don't see it has one. So I think personally that if I were holding, 100 Bitcoin, would I be sitting there now thinking, well, I just sit on this? Or would I be thinking there are bigger opportunities in this massively expanding crypto universe, which will be a lot more profitable than just sitting here? Okay? Just have a think about that. I'm not criticizing Bitcoin whatsoever, so don't please, if you're a Bitcoin holder, don't say, oh, he doesn't know. No. I'm just giving you a hypothesis. I'm looking forwards. I'm looking at the future of crypto, not the past. And I'm thinking, what is the purpose of Bitcoin at this stage versus the utility and purpose of other coins, Hedera, our friend XRP, Solana, XLM. What is the purpose of Bitcoin? It's worth thinking about, isn't it? It's worth thinking about. Because the opportunity of, say, XRP, Hedera, Solana, XLM, the opportunities for those to increase, they've got all their ETFs to come. They've got all their institutional adoption to come. They've got all the public rushing in as the public will and do. And then we've got to tie it to the real economy. Because I sense that the real economy now is starting to show every sign. I expected it to show, but then I'm early. I tend to be early. I tend to look for things early. So what did we see this week? Just to bring us back onto the real economy, and then I'll bring it back to crypto. Target, Home Depot, McDonald's. McDonald's have just cut prices for the second time this year. And as I told you earlier in a presentation, they're losing breakfasts hand over fist. People are just not having breakfast. And it's not they're cutting back, they're just not having it. They're choosing to reduce that part of their budget, take the breakfast out, okay? And then we see Walmart come in. Now Walmart is really interesting because this has a lot of my thinking behind these results. It ain't the full truth. Walmart is an incredible operation. It's a massive operation. And it has incredibly clever people running it at the top. So when they say that they didn't make provision for one-off costs and that's why their earnings failed to hit the target, really? Really? Walmart's didn't anticipate their legal and restructuring one-off costs and their self-insured liability costs. Really? They knew about those for months. Months. So to blame one-off costs and the self-insured liability costs on the failure of their earnings to hit analysts' expectations, no, I don't believe it. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Because at the end of the day, those costs were all known months in advance or could be anticipated such that the analysts could be warned and therefore they could guide the analysts' forecast down and not disappoint. This is a rare miss for Walmart. And I want you to just hang on to that thought that what you're going to get told in the next 6-9 months of companies failing to meet their targets is not going to be the whole truth. It will be the convenient truth. It won't be a lie, but it won't tell the real picture as we want to see it because the economy is slowing down rapidly. All right, if you think about it, Target, Home Depot, McDonald's, Walmart, how more American could you get? That's the American market, and other markets are in a much worse position, Canada, UK, Europe, etc. So we come back to crypto, and we come back to Rupert, and I'll link in his 2 videos. I'll link in Paul Barron's video. Okay. I will also link in the Eurodollar University video as well on the economy. Because these things taken together, to me, look like, yes, crypto's the future. Yes, tokenisation's the future. But why Bitcoin? What does it do? And so I'm just hypothesising and I'm happy for comments, please, okay? What are the journeys we should take to take most advantage of this massive structural change that's coming in the world? Okay, and you know my thoughts. I'm sitting on XRP, XLM and HBAR Hedera. But others will be sitting on other coins, other journeys, and that's fine. There will be lots of other journeys. I can't see them all. I'm not telling you I know them all. Okay, but the real economy, meantime, is collapsing. Okay, it's collapsing. And that will, of course, necessitate people to look for other things to invest in, because as the stock market now starts to fall, I'm not saying it can't have a little spike if the Fed cut rates. I'm expecting personally, and this is on Friday morning, I'm expecting the Fed to cut 25 and resist the 50, because they did 50 last September and it caused chaos, or it caused a panic. And there are so many, and there is so much of agenda within the Fed not to appease Trump. Yeah, not to appease Trump. Remember, one of the Fed members has resigned because of Trump this week, or because of charges, etc., on mortgage fraud, and as they should resign. But we're seeing a war there. And so these walls are spreading, aren't they? They're everywhere. So what I'm expecting is the Fed to probably compromise and cut 25, but signal further cuts to come because the economy is collapsing. So an alternative, a cost-effective alternative, has to be brought into the economy through payments, banking, etc., 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 etc. So that's where crypto has a future. But what is the future of Bitcoin in that universe, or that expansion of the universe of using crypto, tokenization, etc.? All right. So thank you very much for watching. As I say, I do not know the result of the Federal Reserve meeting at this point, but I think it's interesting to get these thoughts out there, get the hypothesis out there. Please comment, and please share these videos. We really have got some momentum now. We're well over 4,000. I really want to kick on because I'm trying to bring the truth in a world of not the whole truth, putting it nicely, and lies, putting it seriously. Thank you very much.